Hi, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your love. It's really massive. I really appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for your support. And please keep watching. Also help me by watching the edits, even if you want to download the video. Please watch the edits before you download. Thank you so much. All right. And for if you're yet to subscribe, please click on that red icon to subscribe. Also touch the bell to be the first to be notified whenever I upload a new video. And for my existing subscribers, thank you so much. I'm really appreciating you guys. So now today's class we shall be looking at how to make a straight bustier. Okay. All right, we are making an Igbo blouse or madam blouse. All right, so we'll be cutting out the bodies on the pattern before we now transfer to the main fabric. Okay, so here I have my lines drawn out. I have the shoulder line, I have my bust point, I have my under bust, I have my waistline, and I have the full length of the blouse. Okay, so the first thing to do is to impute our nipple to nipple measurement. That's the bust span. Okay, just take your ruler across your two nipples and know what you have. So whatever thing you have, divide it by two. So for this, I have 7.5. Sorry, I have 7 inches. Okay, so I will divide it into two to have 3.5. Some as 8. So just divide it by two, and whatever thing you have, you impute it. And also include the allowance for the sewing. Okay, all right, so here I have 7 inches into 2 to give me 3.5. So I would add my own sewing inch to make it 3.75. I use 0.25 to stitch the two together. Okay, so if you're making use of half an inch, do well to add it to the main measurement. Okay, all right, so here I have a 3.75. So I'll just measure that 3.75 all through, starting from the shoulder to the full length. Okay. So I'll just connect this with a straight line. Okay, haven't done this now. The next thing to do is for us to impute our darts. Okay, all right. So here I'll be adding 2 inches to this side and 1 inch to this side. Okay, if the person have a smaller bust, you can use 1 inch here and 1 inch on this side. Okay, but if it's an average bust, you use 2 inches here and 1 inch here. Okay, for you to know that your bust measurement, okay, minus your under bust measurement, if you have above 4 inches, it's an average. Okay, so you just use 2 inches in and 1 inch out, but if you have less than that, use 1 inch on both side. Okay, so I'll just mark 2 inches here, and I'll mark 1 inch here. Okay, then I'll do that to my waistline also. I'll mark 2 inches here and I'll mark 1 inch here. Also at my full length, I'll mark 2 inches in and 1 inch out. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and connect this. I'll connect this 1 inch, then I'll connect this 2 inches. Okay. So at my bust point, I will come down by 1 inch. I'll come down by 1 inch. So I'll go ahead and connect this 1 inch now to this 2 inches here. Okay, and I'll also connect from this 1 inch here to this other 1 inch. Okay. You can make use of your French cuff. Okay. Okay. So I haven't done this now. I'll go ahead now to impute my shoulder line measurement. Okay. So the shoulder I'm working with is 16 inches into 2 to give us 8 inches. So I'll also add ½ inch to join it for the joining of the sleeve. Okay. So I'll be marking 8.5 instead of 8 inches. So I'll mark 8.5. All right. Okay, now I'll now connect this with a straight line from this point now, from the shoulder line to the bust point. Okay. Just connect that straight. And go ahead just to blend this. Okay. So at the difference of what you have here, you're going to take measurement of here, what you have at this space. Okay. Then you take it over to this point. Okay. Because we are going to be removing this part. So you are going to replace it at this side. So whatever thing you have here. So here I have 4.75. So I'll just take that 4.75. I'll just take that 4.75 up here. Okay. So at this point now, I'll come down to create my shoulder slope. I'll come down by 1 inch. Okay. And I'll also take my shoulder measurement. I'll also take my armhole measurement. The armhole I'm working with is 16 inches into 2 to give us, 18 inches into 2 to give us 9 inches. So I'll just mark my 9 inch. Okay, so I'll just use my meter rule to connect that. I'll first connect my shoulder slope from this 1 inch now. I will connect it to this point. Okay, I will connect it to this point and not to this point. Okay, so I'll just make a straight line here. So at this point now, we'll be taking our bust measurement. So this is where we'll be taking our bust measurement. Okay. So the bust I'm working with is 38 inches into 4 to give us 9.5 inches. Now mark my 9.5 inch. looking at here, you will notice that we will be removing something here, inside here. So I'll just take this measurement here, and I have 1 inch. So I'll include that 1 inch to this point. Then I'll go ahead to insert my sewing allowance. Okay. So I'll be adding 3 inches. Then here I will look for my midpoint, which is 4.5. So I'll come out here by half an inch. You can also come out by 0.75, but I'll come out by half inch. Okay. So I'll just connect this now to this point. Okay, so this now will serve as the front armhole. Okay, so I'll go ahead and impute my under bust measurement, my waistline measurement. Okay, then the under bust I'm working with is 33 inches. Into 4 will give us 8.25. So I'll come to my under bust and insert my 8.25. 8.25. Okay, then here we are going to be removing this dart, which is 3 inches. So I will add up that 3 inches to this point. Okay, then I'll also add my sewing allowance of 3 inches. Okay, because I'll be using this, will be having a lining, and I'll be using half an inch, okay, to line it out. Okay, then I'll be left with 2.5. Okay, you can also reduce your own to 2 inches or 2.5. I actually know why I made my allowance to be that much. Okay, but feel free to reduce yours if 3 inches is much for you. Okay, so here I have my waist to be 8.5. So I'll add my 8.5 inches. Then I'll add extra 3 inches. Okay, and I'll add my sewing allowance of 3 inches. Okay, then coming to the blouse hip, I have it as 4 inches, 40 inches into 4 to give us 10 inches. So here I will mark the 10 inches. Then I'll also impute the 3 inches for the dart and 3 inches for my sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead now to connect all those lines. Okay, so this is what we have for the body. So we go ahead now to create our neck line. Okay, so this part now is where we'll be creating our neck line. Okay, so for this blouse, I want it to be a sweetheart neck. So at this side, I'll mark 5 inches, and at this side, I'll mark 7 inches, which is the midpoint. Okay, so I'll just create so from those 7 inches now, okay, so this is what I will have at my neck line. So I'll go ahead now to cut this out. Just watch carefully so as to know the parts to remove, okay? So after cutting it out, we'll be having something like this. So I'll just go ahead to use this now to cut out the main fabric. Okay, for the back, I've also drawn my line. I have my bust point, I have my under bust, my waist, my full length, and the shoulder line. Okay, so like we did on the front parts, we're going to insert our bust band, which is 3.75. Okay, so I'm going to mark the 3.75 all through. Okay, 3.75. So after this, I will connect it with a straight line. So the next thing to do now is to insert our bust, our shoulder line. Of course, you know that this line will just serve as a dart for us. Okay, so I'll just insert our shoulder line, which is 8 inches plus half inch, making it 8.5 inches. I'll mark my 8.5, then I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll insert my armhole measurement, which is 18 inches to 9 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead now to connect us. Here I will input our bust line measurement, which is the bust 38 into 4, 9.5. So I'll mark my 9.5. Mark my 9.5. Then I'll add my sewing allowance. The under bust 33 into 4 to give us 8.25. So I'll mark my 8.25. Then I'll add my sewing allowance. That's my waistline. 8.5 when divided into 4. Then I'll add my sewing allowance. Okay, at the blouse length 40 inches, divide by 4, 10 inches. Then I'll add my sewing allowance. Okay, alright, so I'll just go ahead now to connect it. I'll just blend up this so that it won't be sharp. Okay, so here I will find the midpoint of the armhole, which is 4.5. Remember the front parts, we came out here by half an inch because it's the front part, okay? But at the back, we are not coming out with anything. So we are going to create our curve from this point. Okay, so for the neckline, here I will come down by 6 inches. And here I will come down by 8 inches. So I'll just okay. I'll just go ahead now and cut this out. So this is the back piece. Okay, so I'll just go ahead now and use it to cut out the main fabric. Okay, I've cut out the satin for the dress. Okay, so this is the front piece and this is also the center front piece. And as you can see, when you look carefully, you notice that I notch out the breast point. Okay, this will help me to make sure that the 2 points meet when I'm joining it. Okay, I also notch out the center piece also. Okay, recall that when we are cutting for the back, we didn't give space for our zip allowance. Okay, so as I'm cutting the satin now, I added an extra 1.5 inches, okay, for the zip. Okay, So here our zip will be sitting on this part. Okay, so just include yours when cutting it out. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and cut out the lace and the lining the same way. Okay, then after that I'll go ahead to use my wadding to cut out for the padding of the breast parts. Okay, I'll just cut out my wadding. This is the center piece. Okay, I'll just stop at somewhere here at the waistline or 1 inch. Okay, I'll just at the center of this between the underbust and the waistline, I'll just stop my wadding at this point, and coming to the upper part I will stop 1.5 inches downward. Okay, so that when I'm joining this thing to the lining, it won't be too thick. Okay, so 1.5, come down by 1.5 inches and cut your wadding. Okay, then make out the same shape. Then here I'm stopping at the center, at the midpoint of those between the under bust and the waist line. Okay, then I'll do the same thing here. Between here, I will stop my wooding at the center piece. Okay, then get out this shape this way. I'll just cut this way. Okay, all right.